Keep it up. I will not ask for a better victory.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ironworker Gaming channel. I am Ironworker814, and we're back today for another Destiny 2 PvP viewer-requested weapon review, where we take a look at pros, cons, stats, damage numbers, and how to obtain the weapon. And if you're sitting there thinking, man, Ironworker, another strictly PvP review, just hang tight for a minute, because after this one, we're going to be dipping back into the PvE side of the game also. But the weapon we're taking a look at today is the Horror's Least Pulse Rifle, and this review was requested by Grandma. I mean, not my grandma, but Grandma. And as always, if you'd like to support this video and help it reach more people, a firm press of the like button goes a long way in doing that. And be sure to subscribe to the Ironworker Gaming channel if you're digging the content and want to see some more. But the Horror's Least was a weapon that I just never really bothered going after. That is, until I set my sights on the Cursebreaker title, since you do need this weapon to complete the Dreaming City badge. Even after obtaining it though, it pretty much just went straight into the vault, because I already had a really nice rapid-fire pulse rifle that I was in love with. That being the Outlast from Season of the Drifter. That was my go-to gun for quite a while, and I certainly wasn't looking for a replacement. So when Horror's Least came up in the comments as a requested review, I was intrigued. This was a weapon that I had very little experience with, and I'm fairly certain that this is the first piece of Nightfall specific loot that we're reviewing on this channel. So you're pretty much going to be getting my fresh out of the box opinion on Horror's Least in this video, without any preconceived notions of the gun's capabilities. And we'll get into the review right after we take a look at how to obtain this weapon for those who have not done so already. Alright, as I just stated, Horror's Least is a Nightfall specific pulse rifle that you can acquire via the Corrupted Strike in the Dreaming City. And do keep in mind this is Nightfall specific loot, so selecting the strike from the director or finishing it in the Vanguard Strike playlist will never net you this gun. The Corrupted must be up in the rotation as the Nightfall ordeal, or there are still those 3 standard Nightfall strikes rotating through every week. So you could always check there if you have your sights set on this gun. Just remember that those Nightfalls are not match made, and you will need to have a 5 of Swords card in your inventory to partake in them. If you don't have a 5 of Swords card, you can purchase them from Xur. To have a chance of obtaining these Nightfall specific drops, you used to need to meet a certain point threshold, and then the more points you scored, the better your odds were of securing the loot. I believe at some point this system was tweaked or removed. I really can't find any solid up-to-date information confirming that, but if you know something I don't, please leave it down in the comments. But upon finishing the strike and defeating Sadia, you'll have a chance of seeing a legendary engram containing Horror's Least lying on the ground. Or if your luck is as good as mine, given the boss arena, it'll probably roll off the edge, in which case it'll be waiting for you at the postmaster. Horror's Least is a legendary arc rapid-fire pulse rifle firing at 540 rounds per minute with a base 36 rounds in the magazine. When comparing Horror's Least to other rapid-fire pulse rifles, the stability is pretty solid, the range and reload are middle of the pack, but the handling is abysmal, really low. Checking the hidden stats on light.gg, we have an aim assist value of 82, a bounce intensity of 45, and a recoil of 55, causing the pull of this weapon to be mainly vertical. Taking a look at the usage rate on Destiny Tracker, Horror's Least has been used by just about 0.2% of Guardians in quick play game modes over the past month. And intrinsically, rapid fire pulse rifles have deeper ammo reserves and reload faster when the magazine is empty. This gun does have random rolls, and we'll check out the full perk set in just a moment. But the perks on the particular roll that I have that I had the most success with were small bore for the barrel for the increased range and stability. For the magazine, high caliber rounds are nice for possibly flinching targets, but I just can't pass up the increased stability and range and bouncing bullets of ricochet rounds. My perks here are kind of meh for PvP. Under pressure isn't too bad, but being a serial reloader, I don't get that stability and accuracy benefit all that often. And we also have Dragonfly, so precision kills make the enemy go boom. Here's the full perk set on screen, and I'll make a few suggestions here. For the barrel, Arrowhead Break could be really nice to tone down the recoil just a little bit and help out with the low handling. For the magazine, the 2 options that I have on my weapon are pretty much what I would want. I would really like Zen Moment in perk column 1, but Rangefinder would also be pretty solid. And in perk column 2, I would be more than happy to see either Kill Clip or Moving Target. Horror's Least does have a curated role that'll drop fully masterworked with Zen Moment and Outlaw. For the damage numbers, Horror's Least will do 24 points of damage on a critical hit and 15 points of damage to the body, giving us an optimal time to kill of 0.8 seconds, requiring 7 crits and 2 body shots, and a body shot time to kill of 1.4 seconds, requiring 14 shots landed. Taking a look at the optimal range, Horror's Least will be doing full damage from 34 meters in. Taking a few steps back to 35 meters is where we start to see damage fall off. And with that, let's talk about some pros of using Horror's Least in the Crucible. Horror's Least all in all feels like a pretty solid scout rifle in the small amount of time that I've spent using it. I've always really liked the time to kills and the bullet combinations to hit them with the rapid fire frame pulse rifles. The 0.8 seconds for the optimal time to kill is pretty competitive, and while this does require 3 full bursts, you have a little bit of wiggle room here, only needing to land 7 of the 9 shots as crits. And then the body shot time to kill of 1.4 seconds is only bested in the weapon type by the lightweight frame pulse rifles by 7/100ths of a second. Aiding you in landing these shots is the good base stability of the weapon, and the handful of perks and options that can boost the stability stat even further. Especially on pulse rifles, stability is very important. If your pulse rifle has poor stability, it is going to require you to aim for the chest at longer ranges, so that the weapon pulls to the head when the burst releases, pretty much ensuring that you're not going to hit your optimal time to kill. You really want as little bullet deviation in the burst as possible to allow yourself to just aim for the head and trust that you're going to land crits. A pulse rifle with good stability, like Horror's Least, will do this for you. Also, Horror's Least actually does have the highest aim assist value of any pulse rifle in the game at 82. The bullet magnetism that this provides is noticeable. Even from outside of this weapon's optimal range, if my shots were just a little bit off target, they still wanted to grab that crit. And then the perk set for Horror's Least in general is pretty solid. There really aren't too many throwaway perks in here. Some are definitely better than others, but even the role that I'm using, which is certainly not what I would consider my god role, I'm benefited by the perks enough that I found it to be a serviceable weapon in many engagements. And that's going to round out the pros, but we do have some cons to talk about, so let's get into those now. Alright, to start off the cons, this weapon's handling is pretty bad. This is definitely the most obvious trade-off you're getting for having that big aim assist value. I had my Controverse hold setup going on when I first started tinkering around with this weapon, and I quickly swapped them out for my Ophidian aspects. Because without some way to boost that handling on Horror's Least, it feels really grindy swapping between weapons, and the ADS speed is painfully slow. The next couple of points all roll in together. This is a rapid fire pulse rifle, which means your per bullet damage output is pretty low. You will need to physically track your target while timing your burst, and you're pretty much going to be spam firing the trigger to hit your optimal time to kill, unless of course your gun is rolled with full auto. If you're not accustomed to using this archetype of pulse rifle, this is definitely something you're going to need to acquire a feel for. But ideally you're going to be using Horror's Least from a relatively closer range to ensure maximum damage output. If you've caught any of my other previous weapon reviews from Season 11, you probably know where I'm going with this. Rapid fire pulse rifles are yet another weapon archetype that has been snuffed out due to the buff to auto rifles. Before this change, hand cannons were the biggest threat to rapid fire pulses. They shared the same optimal time to kill, they were effective at the same ranges, and each of them had an advantage over the other in a certain aspect. The hand cannon user could take advantage of their mobility and the ability to peek shoot from cover, while the pulse rifle user could maintain a steady stream of bullets going down range and had the better body shot time to kill. The parity between these two weapon types made for some very interesting duels. But fast forward to current day, and Mr. Gnawing Hunger just comes around the corner, lays on the trigger, and you're dead in 0.7 seconds. You may be getting sick of me talking about this by now, but for a lot of weapons, the current sandbox is a con, and it's definitely something that factors in when fairly assessing a weapon. So for the verdict and would I recommend using Horror's Least in the Crucible? If it wasn't for the current sandbox, I would give it a more emphatic yes. But Horror's Least and this weapon archetype in general is just kind of in a tougher spot right now due to the strength of auto rifles. But if it wasn't for that, even though this weapon does have some handling issues, the ease at which the bullets from this gun tend to land would probably make it a decent option for players who don't mind playing a little more aggressively with a pulse rifle. Horror's Least can still be effective in PvP, you're just gonna have to work harder than an auto rifle user if you want to see results. And who knows, with a few small balancing changes in Beyond Light, rapid-fire pulse rifles might find their way back into the conversation. And even though this weapon is being sunset, it can still live on in the quick play and comp game modes. So if you did enjoy this weapon review, be sure to hit the like button. It really does help a lot with the success of this video. And consider subscribing to the Ironworker Gaming channel to catch more videos similar to this one. Feel free to look for Ironworker814 on Twitch or Twitter and drop me a follow on either one of those platforms if you so choose. But the easiest way to contact me is simply to comment down below. Questions, feedback, thoughts, constructive criticism, they're all welcome, and I'll be sure to get back to you. And with all that being said, I'd like to thank you for spending a piece of your day checking out this weapon review. You guys are awesome, and I will catch you on the next one.